It's a lot of lying and manipulation, and it's all trouble. You know, Adam's still holding on for whatever reason. The contract and that situation happened, you know, and he got a lawsuit. Literally, Adam got a lawsuit from Wack bringing loose cannon up there. They don't talk about that. You know, they don't mention nothing about that situation. If, you know, we being real, right? There's nowhere in America that a public figure would be able to operate like he does. And it's been 15 months. You hear me? It's been 15 months since Jay Reed and Marciano was brutally beat up, man. 15 months. You know? And Wack goes back to the crime scene every week. Nobody's ever been charged. Nobody talks about the situation. It's like, and I'm glad that, you know, I'm my own type of person. Straight up. I'm my own type of person. Yeah. Solid. You know, nobody talks about that situation at No Jumper. Dude got stripped out there. Robbed, pistol whipped, beat, took all his clothes off, and put out there for the world to see. Nobody's ever been charged or anything. And Wack is talking stuff to different people on the internet. After the situation, he threatened Aaron Plummer's life. Said $1,500 to get him knocked off. Nobody would ever make me believe that that dude is right. I could never believe it. And, you know, and that's the kind of question I got for the people out there, you know, that do deal with it. Why isn't nobody asking, why hasn't nobody asked Wack that question, right? He knows all this about Big U's case and what's going on with Big U's case. Why hasn't none of those podcasters out there that sit down with Wack, No Jumper, ask Wack, why don't you think anybody was charged for the beating out there yet? Why? That should be a major question. 15 months? You talking about Black Sam. Wack is talking about Black Sam saying what he thinks that Shitty Cuz shouldn't have been locked up. He shouldn't have went to jail, right? Him saying this, Wack is trying to force something on that man. Say, oh, he's saying that he the next Big U, right? Why isn't nobody asking Wack, hey, yo, do you think anybody is ever going to get charged with No Jumper? Or you think nobody's ever going to get charged? Do you have, I would be asking him that. Do you have like a time frame that you think somebody might get locked up for that? You know, you say you didn't do anything, right? You say you didn't have no involvement. You didn't do anything. You wasn't a part of anything. Okay, cool. But do you know if charges are going to be brought for the situation? Or do you think that that case isn't worthy of somebody being arrested for? That's what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Because when I look at the case, I would think that somebody would have been arrested immediately, you know. But when you look at the situation, right, although we know the involvement with Big U situation and that indictment that he participated in fully, you got to understand this, right? It's not going to look good, right, for the person that put so much effort and time into making sure that that indictment was secured to be involved in another situation. So what I think, right, they ain't messing with that case because they don't want to put any light on the other situation, right? So it makes, the government look bad, right? Because the government knew that they had Wack running around with loose cannon to secure the indictment with Big U, right? And in the midst of that, there's a whole nother serious situation, right? Now, we understand that, Big U was accepting payments that the feds was paying, right? Loose cannon robbed the dispensary, right? But I gotta be honest with myself and the people that rock with me, right? I have to be honest. Yes, the indictment was serious with the 60s, right? But that situation that happened outside of No Jumper was more severe than the indictment with the 60s. And I'm just being real. This is a fact. When you look at that situation that happened outside of No Jumper, there's a man that's paralyzed on one side of his body in a wheelchair. Can't walk. Don't want to live anymore, right? Don't want to live anymore because he can't walk. His life has changed. He's suffering. That situation outside of No Jumper was more severe than what Loose Cannon in the 60s is indicted for. Extortion, robbery. Nah. It wasn't no physical violence in that. Now they say Big U was attached to the young bull in Vegas, but all the individuals, they ain't charged with that. That's something that they're alleging Big U had involvement in, right? The big indictment, there was no violence in that. Wasn't no violence. Robbery, extortion payments. But somebody outside got beat the way he did and paralyzed. That situation was more severe. And this is what people are not talking about, though. Everybody forgot about it. And the people that rock with me, y'all know I didn't forget about it. I didn't let it die. I didn't let it go down. For what? That situation is a serious situation. Wack bragged about that situation. So, when is that case going to happen? I mean, the podcasters, they all out there dealing with Wack. And I'm saying all of the individuals that sit down with Wack, everybody that's been dealing with Wack, even the ones that Wack has turned on. All of them. They all sat down with Wack, and not one of these guys has said to Wack, when do you think someone is going to be charged for the situation at No Jumper? Or do you think no one will ever get charged? So we shouldn't talk about that, right? But we should talk about Big U's case. Because you saying it. We wouldn't say nothing about what happened outside of No Jumper. We should talk about Big U's case. We should talk about Black Sand. We should talk about everybody else that you say we should talk about. What about the situation that has already actively happened? We should talk about the lies of T. Grizzly, the fake paperwork, right? We should talk about the manipulation. We should talk about everything else but was severe outside of No Jumper. That situation outside of No Jumper was bad. When I say bad, it was bad. And I guess because people see Jay Reed is walking and running around, they forget about the other brother. Straight up. And this is the same brother that Wack said he was gonna have him come on his channel and tell everybody why this happened to him. Now, and this is why I tell y'all, Wack know I know though. Damn right. You know I know. I ain't on here talking about no damn CS2 back. All right, CS2 back. We know about that. I'm talking about what happened at No Jumper. I'm talking about the seriousness of the crime that happened that nobody's talking about. Everybody just say, all right, we ain't gonna talk about it no more. So it's like the people allow Wack to control the narrative to talk about other things than what's really going on. What's really going on, it's a serious situation at No Jumper. Adam 22's being sued. People have been brutally beat up there. But Wack wants us to focus on Big U's case. And he wants to focus on Big U's case of saying that he didn't have no involvement and that the feds say they don't want to talk to him no more because he put the recording out of the fake phone call with Jay Prince. So that stuff there is more important than the people that was robbed, pistol whipped, stripped, and it was on camera. Now, we don't have any surveillance publicly of Big U situation. You know, the feds got surveillance of them giving money, right? They got surveillance of them making the payments. You know, they got surveillance of Wack and Loose Cannon, right? But we see something public. Literally, the world sees something public. And ain't nobody talking about that? I'm just being real. That lets you know what's going on. You know, if all the people that want to speculate and say, nah, Wack good, you tripping. Straight up. You tripping. Yeah. Homie ain't good at all, man. Homie's all bad, man. And I'm saying to the core. Homie's bad to the core, man. Ain't nothing good about main man. You know? And he's showing y'all. But, you know, what I do know about a lot of people, even with people that felt like they were somewhat in the street, most individuals, and I'm going to tell you, right? I'm going to say it like this. 95% of the people out in the street, they really don't got no common sense. Straight up. And if you understand what I'm saying, right? Pay attention to the plugs. Pay attention now. 95% of the people in the street don't have common sense. This is why Wack is able to manipulate individuals. Because if you pay attention that it's only 5% that are plugs out in the street. It's a whole bunch of runners running around acting like they doing something. Straight up. It's a 5% margin that is really the plug. 95% of the people out there, they just got a little pack. They running around with a little pack. They ain't got no sense. Or they out there robbing. They acting like they the muscle for somebody. The plugs, they laid back. You really don't see them like that. They pop out every now and then. They the ones that got to work. That's the 5% margin that's out there that's trying to play the game on another level, right? when most of the people out there, they crash outs. So when you pay attention to the people that, you know, are out there, you understand why they're so easily manipulated. Niggas are running around here and think because they gave something to their homeboy that they the plug. Nah, you not the plug. Straight up. You know, in today's, you know, world with the shit now, right? It's certain people running around, they'll be like, yo, I'm about to call my plug. And then you see this person like, this your plug? Nah, that's not a plug. You really don't know what a plug is. So the game in the street, majority of these people don't have no damn common sense. That's the bottom line, what I'm saying. Majority of these people that we see on the internet, you know, they don't have no common sense. And I don't care that they have subscribers and that they have a following and people pay attention to them. They don't have no common sense. It's a manipulation game. You start thinking because somebody has a following that they got common sense. No. A lot of these people be straight lost. You hear me? A lot of them be lost, man. So, you know, shout out to everybody that rock with SBGB TV. You know, I appreciate y'all. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, man, shout out to y'all, man. I like to break it down real good. I think I do it real good. I ain't even gonna lie. I think I break it down so good. You know, and this is because I really come from the street and I don't want anything to do with the street. I denounce the street, but I was on a different level. So it's like when I see this shit, it's like, that's why these dudes is easily manipulated. You know what I mean? Anybody can start a YouTube channel. All you need is an email and a phone. Anybody can start a YouTube channel, right? A lot of these jokers, you know, it's like, and I'm just being real. You know, I ain't got nothing against to the, you know, the people that, you know, are up no jumper. You know, it's some real people around, but when you look at the characters, man, you gotta understand, like, most of the people before they had the light on that stage, they really wasn't nothing. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't nothing. So the stage at No Jumper gave them like a light, and it makes them feel like something because, you know, the world is watching the internet. So, you know, you got people that are characters on the internet and people are watching these characters and they put in their mind that these individuals are, you know, something because they have light on the internet. This is a lot of shit is going on, right? You see these individuals, you think, man, these individuals got this light, and, you know, you got to just pay attention. Flacco. You know what I'm saying? These individuals, they might be making money now and doing things now because they're on the internet. But before the internet, these individuals was nothing. They didn't understand how to function. They didn't understand. They don't know what it is to buy a house. They don't know what it is to run a business. They don't know what it is. None of that. They get on the internet and they start getting attention and start making some money. And then they turn into these characters, whereas though people act like these people are the spokesmen of the world. This is why the world is so messed up. Because you got these individuals that really didn't know how to function outside of this here. How are you going to give me advice and you couldn't function without this? Straight up. I'm just being real. How are you going to give me advice when you have no capability of running your own show before this? You had to leech on to this person and that person. You really don't have that kind of talent, you know. So this is why, you know, when I come on here, I like to break it down for the people that want to understand the real.